Hi, my name is Brooke Stifler, and I am here to introduce an article from Nature Publishing Group that was featured online at nature.com. This article had several corresponding authors and acknowledgments. This podcast will aim to highlight the purpose of this article, introducing relevant topics such as ecosystem resilience, adaptability, and climate change. I have included access to the article featured in the web link below. This helps you know that this is a credible source and where this article came from, as well as the date that it was created. I am an undergraduate student at Kansas State University studying horticulture with a secondary major in natural resources and environmental science. I am currently enrolled in a course called Environmental Communication, an effort to better understand how to encourage the discussion of environmental issues. I am also interested in how we display that information to our audience. To give you a little bit of a background about the source, Nature.com is known as Nature Publishing Group. It was founded in 1869. They publish a wide range of scientific and medical journals. This information is available to you in print and online. In their print journals, that is in the form of a magazine, and you can actually subscribe to get that delivered to your home or pick that up at your local grocery store and or bookstore. The audience range is about 6 million visitors per month to this website, so you can see that they probably reach a wide range of viewers. Various people could include educators, maybe students, publications, etc. The title of this article is Biomass Resilience of Neotropical Secondary Forests. I just wanted to take a moment to get everyone on the same page as far as what these words mean. So biomass is the amount of living matter, so in the context of a habitat perhaps. Resilience is the ability of something to return to its original strength, health, or shape after it has been strained or perhaps disturbed. An example could be the ability of a forest to recover after being influenced by climate change and or human destruction. So neotropical is of or relating to or constituting the tropical biogeographic region that extends southeast and west from Central Plateau of Mexico. In the article, they actually termed together biomass and resilience to become one definition, which is the ability to 1. Recover quickly after disturbance, and 2. Return to its original pre-deforestation state. This article is concerned about the ability of naturally regenerating forests to recover and or maintain equivalent delivery of ecosystem services. So an ecosystem service could be defined as any positive benefit that an ecosystem provides to the people. It also could be wildlife and or just ecosystem itself. Like what is that ecosystem or that habitat providing for the surrounding life? As you may know, tropical forests have rapid carbon sequestration rates and are known to be carbon sinks. This article suggests that once a certain threshold of disturbance has been reached, tropical forests may collapse or switch to an alternative stable state. This leads us to have concern with what negative impacts may result on the global carbon cycle. We must take notice to biomass recovery rates and resiliency estimates. Some limiting factors to biomass recovery rates include climate. So we have seen an increase in global temperatures as a result of climate change. Some term it global warming, or you could also call it global climate change, in the words of Dr. Rice. Management also becomes something that we need to look at when it comes to recovery rates. So was this site previously used for crop production or cattle ranching? Each of these could potentially prolong the process of biomass recovery. So are you fostering that healthy habitat Are those crop production folks or cattle ranchers really creating that highly productive environment or habitat that, has the ability to sequester carbon effectively? We must also look at the land use. So, what kind of human disturbances have there been, or what are the neighboring landscapes? Is there a ton of pollution in the air? What are the soil conditions like? And that's also dependent on rainfall. So, you know, habitat is going to be dependent on rainfall. So, the above ground biomass is going to be increased with higher amounts of rainfall and fertile soils. Thus, there's a decrease of above ground biomass with lower rainfall. So we must consider these levels of water availability that are there for these tropical ecosystems. Over the last 2 years, I've had the opportunity to live on the Big Island of Hawaii for about 6 months of time. The first time I visited was 2 years ago, and I spent 1 month there. I didn't notice any crazy changes to the environment. On the other hand, I became familiar enough with the environment, so when I went back just this past year, I did notice changes. The Big Island was hit with a big hurricane in August of 2014, I would say, 2014, and those plants, especially the non-native plants, had been disturbed, and I was able to take note to these changes. But on a more important note, I also noticed that plants seem to be affected by drought-like conditions, which it's a tropical environment and you experience rain every day, but I had that opportunity to see what changes were happening from a decreased rainfall and also changes in land use. People are expanding and building, and just that decrease in rainfall really does have a big impact on those plants. So bringing our focus back to this article mentions that there is a high variation in potential above ground biomass accumulation rates across the neotropics. There's going to be lower rates in dry forests in Mexico and high rates in humid forests such as southern Mexico, Costa Rica, and large parts of the Amazon. So this understory biomass is highly impacted by anthropogenic disturbances, as well as, opening up the canopy, so thus increasing light availability. This will set the ecosystem back to an earlier successional stage, although growth could be faster potentially. This map shows the potential biomass recovery as mentioned previously. The red indicates areas of low recovery, and the green represents areas of high recovery. This helps to draw our focus to particular regions that we need extra attention for. Their potential to recover is slower. We could also suggest that the resilience to disturbance is lower. So as we discussed in class, climate change is a big deal, and we have to recognize that climate and weather are two different things. Climate is going to represent that long-term trend, and quite frankly, that long-term trend could cause some economical cost because maybe the forest won't have the ability to recover as quickly as it did in the past. We have to consider the carbon sequestration. If there's going to be more carbon floating in the atmosphere, that's certainly going to mess with the levels of carbon in total globally. And we have to encourage ourselves to be informed of these things. And through communication, we have the ability to be aware and be involved, as well as inform others. And I would say bringing class to my life has changed my perspective on just how important and vital it is for communicators to display this information and even share their experiences and hear from others as well, because we need to know what is happening in this world and we need to understand where our attention needs to be focused. So what is the connection to agenda setting? Agenda building is basically focusing on how news coverage both shapes and is reflected by the priorities of the communicator. So this agenda could be a number of events depicted in a news coverage at one particular time. How are we going to arrange that information so it is effectively displayed? So events could be grouped together to form these issues. But as communicators, I think it is vital for people to respond and have a voice in the decision-making process. Yes, we can have news coverage and journals and articles displaying this information, but where is our impact? Where can we have a change in this ever-changing environment? Agenda building can play an important role in cultivating a convincing argument. We must plan how we're going to inform our audience. Based on the information that this article had to offer, I've come up with some discussion questions to consider. Should there be an urge to halt deforestation and advocate actions that promote natural regeneration in deforested areas? On average, it takes about 66 years to recover 90% of old growth values. With the environmental challenges ahead, do you think that there is an increased need to focus on particular areas that are more difficult to restore? Some additional discussion questions to consider are: what ecosystem services are yielded from neotropical environments? What negative implications could result from a decrease in above-ground biomass? Could these have an impact on wildlife and understory plants? I just wanted to end with a nice thank you. I appreciate your time for listening to this podcast.